What's up again, everybody? In today's combo video, we are going to talk about another new card with huge potential for creative combo usage. The Rare Collector is a 5-cost villain from the Guardians of the Galaxy set that has an insane ability which reads, while the Collector is active once per turn, you may pay the purchase cost of a target unpurchased character die -2 to a minimum of 1. If you do, field that character die at level 1 and return this die to the owner's card at the end of the turn or when it leaves the field zone. So that is a huge wall of text, but in essence, this allows you to pay a reduced amount to field any character for a turn. This ability can be used to field your opponent's dice as well as your own, and you can even use this on your opponent's turn thanks to the inclusion of the once per turn and the exclusion of the on your turn sentences on the card text. All of this to say you can take advantage of some really powerful character effects to do some insane things with this, and honestly, this card is very similar to the Cosmic Cube in that it could merit an entire video series just detailing the combos that this opens up, but I don't have that kind of time, so I'm just going to talk about two of my favorite combos with the Collector. The first combo we'll discuss is combining the Collector ability with the when fielded ability of Batman Always Prepared. Batman is a 5-cost villain character that says when fielded, your opponent must re-roll their active non-villain character dice. What's more is that he has a flip side that forces your opponent to re-roll their active villain character dice as well, so you can choose which side you need at the start of your turn. Any rolled characters that land on character faces just go back to the field, and any characters that roll energy move to the reserve pool on their energy faces and then eventually go into used. So depending on the matchup, and in some cases even depending on every turn, you can force a board wipe on your opponent and clog up their bag at the same time. Batman's ability is undeniably good, and it becomes even stronger when you can pay 3 for it and use it on your opponent's turn. So the goal of this 2-card combo would be to get the Collector in the field and save 3 energy, one of them being a fist as per the purchase cost of Batman, for your opponent's turn. After they field their characters and use their energy, they are required to pass priority, quote unquote, to you so that you can take any action that you wish before they can move to the attack step. At this point, you use the Collector's ability to pay 3 energy and field Batman, forcing your opponent to re-roll either all of their villains or non-villains depending on which side your Batman has been flipped to. Any characters that come up energy move to your opponent's reserve, which they can then use to buy more stuff, but they lose on average a large portion of their board and clog up their bag with stuff that they needed to attack and block with. Then if that weren't enough, they pass the turn to you and you could do it again on your own turn if a few characters, stayed on the field. So let's put a couple of strong pieces around this really quick. So our win condition revolves around wiping our opponent's board so that we can push and kill them with Guy Gardner Blinding Rage. If you don't know Guy Gardner is a 2-cost fist character. He's got the Red Lantern affiliation. He's got an 022, 032, 144 stat line, which is good for a 2-drop, and he says he must attack each turn if able, and he gets +1 attack for each other attacking die. And again, if you're new to the game, this card is really, really powerful. It's won a ton of tournaments nationally and the worlds, that sort of thing. So it makes a good win condition. Alongside Guy, we have Miri Riam, which is also a 2-cost Bolt character this time with a Pink Lantern affiliation. 012, 022, 133 stat line. The ability is what we have her here for, and she is a staple with Guy. She says when fielded, move a character die from your used pile with purchase cost less than or equal to the number of different lantern colors you control to the field zone at level 1. So basically she can just pull out a Guy from your used pile that you just purchased whenever you field her on the turn that, you roll her. Next up is Lyssa Drak, another 2-cost character, masked character this time, villain, and she's the Yellow Lantern. She says while Lyssa Drak is active, at the start of your attack step, name a character, and if at least one of those character dice blocks, you may move 2 dice from your opponent's used pile to their bag. She has the dual purpose of providing another lantern color, which makes it more easy to pull Guy if you don't keep a Guy in the field, and to lower the quality of your opponent's bag pulls on the turn where Guy is forced to attack, because he does have to attack each turn. Alternatively, Lyssa could be swapped out for a Fabricate Golem with which to cycle Guy and avoid his must attack ability. Rounding out the team, we have Shriek and Dwarf Wizard for blanking. Including both is really interesting because you can hard buy and field Shriek to blank their own Shriek first, and then Collector in Dwarf Wizard on the turns that you need an additional blanking effect. And finally, we have Chalkboard because it plays well with Miri and Shriek and really all of those 2-drops. As for basic actions, I'm big on ramp globals, so I suggest Villainous Pact and Resurrection, though you could also look at your meta and swap in something more useful if you see fit. Alright, on to combo number 2 that employs some new cards from the new set. This time we're going to combine the Collector collector's ability with the super rare Norman Osborn, which says, when fielded, Norman Osborn deals 1 damage to your opponent for each villain character die in the field zone, yours and your opponent's, and that part is important. This in and of itself is a pretty strong combo, as you're just using collector to pay 1 to field a Norman Osborn and deal a bunch of damage, but it gets even crazier with the inclusion of Rare Danger Room from the new X-Men set. Rare Danger Room is a 2-cost bolt action that says all character dice lose their affiliations and gain the villain affiliation until the end of the turn. It also has this global that lets you ping a villain, but really the important thing is that we're going to make everything on the field a villain, and then we're going to collector in a Norman and deal a ton of damage. So what do we put around this to make it even crazier? As I mentioned, the plan is to use Danger Room to make everything in the field a villain, and then pay 1 fist to field a Norman with the collector. So one potential scenario that could give us issues is the possibility of just neither player keeping any characters in the field. If our damage output is equivalent to the number of character dice in the field, then we want as many characters as possible out. To help with that, let's tack on White Tiger Mystical Amulet for the global that says, pay a fist once during your turn, each player must field a sidekick die from their used pile if able. We can use this global to field characters on both sides of the board and also to thin out our used pile and our bag. The biggest issue we run into is dealing with text wiping on either Norman or the collector. To combat that, we have a combination of Shriek and the uncommon blob from the new set, which captures a character die when fielded. This blob can be hard bought for 4, and it can also be collected in for 2 in order to grab the new rare bishop or common Scarlet Witch that slows this team down specifically. The next spot on our team is taken up by an energy fixing global to further increase the likelihood of having fists on turns that we want to collector in a Norman. After running this team yesterday though, I feel like this slot could be open to including a secondary win condition instead of this card, mainly because the ramp that we're throwing onto this team in a second is so disgustingly good that we are likely to just have a fist at all times. Because I came to this realization only yesterday, I haven't yet considered what secondary win condition I would put onto this team, so if you have ideas for what you think that should be, pop those in the comments below. But I do think it's probably more useful than this card because the ramp, like I said, is just really good. So the last spot is this crazy ramp, and this ramp is the combination of the Spot Portal Jumper combined with the basic action card Relaxing. The Spot says while the spot is active, whenever you draw and roll a die outside of your clear and draw step, excluding dice drawn from the Spot's ability, draw and roll an extra die. And Relaxing says, draw a die from your bag, name a die, draw a second die. If the second die was the die you named, keep it and draw a third die, otherwise move the second die to your used pile. And WizKids has ruled on this card that says every time it says draw a die from your bag, you also roll that die. So you would draw and roll a die, name a die, and then draw a die, and if it was the die that you named, then you roll that die, and then draw a third die and roll that die. So when you apply the Spot's ability to it, it gets a little complicated, but in essence, you draw and roll 2 dice, and then you name 1 die, and you draw 1 die, and if it's the die that you named, you draw a second die alongside that second die, and you roll 2 dice, and then you draw 2 more dice, and you roll 2 dice. So you end up rolling 6 dice, and it's ridiculous to try and think about, but that's how it works. If you miss the naming on the second die, then you just draw and roll those 2 dice, and that second die goes to the used pile, unless it's on its double burst face, in which case you get to keep that die and roll that die and then roll a die alongside. Anyway, it's really good and also really crazy and hilarious, and it works really well. So as I mentioned, one of our basic actions is Relaxing because we decided that we just want to roll our bag all the time and we don't want to do it with Darkseid, so Relaxing, then the spot it is. As for a second basic action, I would include something like Blink Transmutation because we're not doing a lot of attacking, and if your opponent just decides to tempo you out and just kill you really fast, then Blink Transmutation is a good way to stop that. So there you go, there you have it. There are 2 of my favorite combos with this new collector card. Let me know what you think of both of these combos in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the team constructions that I put around each of these, what you like and what you dislike. As always, thanks for watching.